whoever wants to chant the verse after me. Utsahan nishayat tairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vritte shadvir bhakti prasidyati. Once again I'll repeat. Utsahan nishayat dhairyat tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vritte shadvir bhakti prasidyati. Hare Krishna. Devi Saroja Mataji, go ahead.
Utsaha nichaya dharya tat karma pravartanat sangatya sato vritte shadvir bhakti prasidyati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Padmavati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Utsaha nischaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatya gatsato vritte shadvir bhakti prasidhyati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nandini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam Mataji. Utsaha nischaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatya gatsato vritte shadvir bhakti prasiddhati. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Pushpa Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Utsahan nishchaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vritte sadvir bhakti prasidyati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jagannath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Utsahan nischayat dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyayat sato sadvir bhakti prasidhyati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anuradha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna. Utsaha nishaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyaga sado vriddhe sabdir bhaktir prasidhyati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Saji Prabhu.
Utsaha nischaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vritte sabdir bhakti prasidyati.
Hare Krishna. Jyoti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Utsaha nischaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyaga sato vritte shadvir bhakti pranasyati. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Sushma Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Utsaha nichaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyaga sato shadvir bhakti prasiddhati. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Kavya Mataji.
Utsaha nischaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vritte sadvir bhakti prasiddhati.
Hare Krishna. So, we had been seeing the first line of this verse in the past 3 days. So, the translation says there are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. That is, being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smarana, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna, and abandoning the association of non-devotees and following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So, today we will see the Tat Karma Pravartanat, the second line of the verse. That, what does it mean? Tat Karma Pravartanat, Prabhupada says, it is doing whatever is favorable for the devotional service, like the 9 process of devotional service that we have already in great length we discussed in the morning class from 7th canto verse by Prahlad Maharaj is talking to Hiranyakashipu. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Achanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. So all these processes, 9 processes of bhakti. So that we had done with some clarity, I think will be in your minds if you had attended those classes. what are the 9 processes of devotional service. So it is Tattat Karma Pravartanat means following the 9 processes of devotional service and following the rules and regulations. For that, Srila Rupa Goswami has given us all the rules and regulations of Vaidhi Bhakti. There are 2 types of Bhakti. One is the Raganuga Bhakti, that is spontaneous devotion to the Lord. Those people do not require any rules and regulations. Their mind is always attached to Krishna, like the gopis of Vrindavan. So they don't have to be told to think about Krishna, or forcibly convert the consciousness towards Krishna. But whereas we are all not so very, we are having that spontaneous relationship with Krishna yet. So we require some rules and regulations to start with. So of the rules and regulations, there are 64 items that Srila Rupa Goswami enumerates, and of which the first 5 items he is talking only about the approaching a spiritual master, getting initiated, following his instructions, and following according to his advice, how to progress in spiritual life, all that. So it's very important that we do all the devotional, the Vaidhi Bhakti, following the rules and regulations under some guidance of a pure devotee. That is the ideal situation. And then it is not so very easy for us to suddenly get up at, if we are used to sleeping till 7 o'clock, for us to get up at 5:30 and come for the chanting session at 6 and doing the chanting, etc. It's not so easy. It is difficult. But then even a child, while going to school in the primary classes, doesn't want to go to school. But the parents know that what is good for them. And so they regulate the child, that tell him that it is for your ultimate benefit that you are going to school. Otherwise, what will you do? Sitting at home, you will not learn anything. So like that, we have to force ourselves to follow the rules and regulations in the beginning. Later on, it becomes a habit. So what are the rules and regulations? That is called Yama and Niyama. Yama is the regulations. Srila Prabhupada was very uncompromising about the 4 regulatory principles. Anybody can tell me what are the regulatory principles in ISKCON that Prabhupada has taught us?
That 4 principles, Mataji?
Yeah.
Avoid intoxication. Don't take in, don't eat non-meat. These all things only. Then not to be illicit. Avoid illicit sex.
Yeah, and no gambling. No gambling. No gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no eating meat. So these 4 regulations, even though his first disciples were from the hippie community, then also he did not compromise with the regulatory principles of devotional service. But the do's, sometimes the principles, the details were sometimes altered by the expert spiritual master. For instance, from his spiritual master asked him to chant 64 rounds. But when Srila Prabhupada mentioned 64 rounds, the disciples were totally devastated. They said, how can we do that? And at least 32, no. Then he said, okay, 16 rounds and not less than that. So the details can be adjusted by the expert spiritual master, but not the principles. The principles are never compromised by them. So the niyama, the do's, what are the things that we should do? The most important out of the 64 items that are enumerated in the Nectar of Devotion, there are 4 or 5 things that everybody should do. Easy to do also. A stands for, that is called the ABCD of Bhakti. So easy to remember with this acronym. A stands for Association of Devotees. You will agree with me that you have been in our association for past 1 year. because we inspire each other. In company, we come together every morning, we discuss something, we inspire the whole day, we are charged to do something in favor of devotional service by listening and being with the devotees, and you feel that you are not alone. There are so many people also starting just like you. So association is very important for getting inspired. Then B stands for Bhagavatam, studying Bhagavatam or listening to the lectures on Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita is very absolutely essential for our progress. C stands for chanting. Chanting is the key thing that is the most important thing that we do in the form of devotional service. Then D stands for two things. One is deity worship, another is diet, that is taking only prasad. All that improves our consciousness. The purification of our consciousness takes place by all these activities, and ultimately we go up to the spontaneous devotion. So what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? Why should we follow the rules and regulations? The question may come. When I'm talking about 64 rules and regulations, of which ABCD at least we should do, then one may ask, why should I do it? So here Lord Krishna says, Ata chittam samadatum na saknoshi mai stiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichaptum dhananjaya. That is 12.9, the 12th chapter, 9th verse of Bhagavad Gita. So my dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. So he is talking about, in the first thing that he suggested was fix your mind and consciousness. That was in 12.8. If you can't do it, then he is bringing down lowering the bar for us. We are not gopis. We do not have the capacity to fix our mind on Krishna without deviation. Then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. So it is very well authoritatively given by Lord Krishna, prescribed for us. If you can't do the spontaneous devotion, okay, everybody cannot be a spontaneous devotee of me, but at least follow the regulative principle. That means the sadhana bhakti. Why do sadhana bhakti? Because it purifies our consciousness. As I told you, all these activities purifies our consciousness, and slowly we will get attached to Krishna. Gradually that will happen. Then in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord says in Uddhava Gita section, he is instructing Uddhava about pure devotional service in this chapter of 19th chapter. Then in the verses from 20 to 24, all the 5 verses were too difficult for me to project. So I have put only the translation. So he is enumerating firm faith in the blissful narrations of my pastime. That is hearing. Constant chanting of my glories. Unwavering attachment to ceremonial worship of me, deity worship. Praising me through beautiful hymns. Achanam Vandanam. Vandanam. Great respect for my devotional service. Offering obeisances. This is again also Vandanam. With the entire body, performing first-class worship of my devotees, serving the devotees. Consciousness of me in all living entities. That is Samat Satvena, that Samat Sarveshu Bhuteshu. So you have to see the Paramatma in each and every living entity and treat them with respect. Offering ordinary bodily activities in my devotional service. You can offer almost anything in the Lord's devotional service. You can dovetail anything and everything. You may be a software engineer, but then there is so much of technology that we are using nowadays. So you can do a website, or you can do special services like transcription, or so many other services related to technology. And then, or even if you are a housewife doing knowing only housework, you can keep the house clean for the deities, thinking that this is Lord Krishna's house, I should keep it clean. You can do the cooking for the Lord, for the pleasure of the Lord. So anything can be dovetail if you think carefully. use of the words to describe my qualities. Again, that is Kirtan, doing Kirtanam, offering the mind to me. Manmana bhava madbhakto. So offering our mind to me. To me means he is meaning Krishna. Here Krishna, offering the mind to Krishna. Rejection of all material desires. Giving up wealth for my devotional service. If we are not very, very far advanced, at least give some dana. So something can be given up for the Lord's devotional service. As you all, sometimes you donate for the Narasimha temple at the HBR layout. So you get those from time to time, the utsavas, everything come and you all very nicely donate there. So like that, to give something for the Lord's elaborate devotional service in the temple. Renouncing material sense gratification and happiness, and performing all desirable activities such as charity, sacrifice, chanting, vows, austerities with the purpose of achieving me. So everything can be dovetailed. You can give charity to an orphanage thinking that they are also Krishna's children. So to please Krishna, I am doing it. Or a sacrifice of your time. You are coming here for the morning program. You are sacrificing your time for listening to about Krishna. Then chanting, of course, we know. And the vows and austerities like doing Ekadasi Vrata or fasting for Janmashtami. All those things for the purpose of achieving Lord Krishna. They constitute the actual religious principles by which those human beings who have actually surrendered themselves to me automatically develop love for me. So what is Krishna guaranteeing? Once you follow these regulatory principles of Vaidhi Bhakti, then you will automatically develop the love for me. The final stage will be that sadhana bhakti you keep on doing with confidence, with utmost care and patience. Then one day or other with enthusiasm, then we will, one day or other, the spontaneous love for Krishna will come to us. That is what he is telling. So this is the framework on which the acharyas have built up the 64 items of bhakti. So Srila Rupa Goswami was such an elevated devotee. He was instructed by the Lord himself in the incarnation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For almost a month, he was, for almost 10 days, he was instructed at Banaras. And he wrote all those regulative principles of Vaidhi Bhakti based on the teachings of the Supreme Lord, directly hearing from the Supreme Lord. And if you see, all these things are mentioned in the regulative principles of Vaidhi Bhakti, which is elaborated by Krishna himself in the Uddhava Gita. So it is not that we are doing it blindly in ISKCON or something like that. We are following the definite rules, the rules of Vaidhi Bhakti, which as enumerated by the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas like Srila Rupa Goswami, and also by Krishna. He is instructing us in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Srimad Bhagavatam to do this. Then what if we don't do it? The Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport of this verse regarding Tat Karma Pravartanat, neglect of the regulative principles will destroy the devotional service. If you are casual about the four regulative principles, and you think, okay, I will chant, but I will not do this and that and all. I will not avoid this and that. I will be my own master. So that sort of whimsical following of the bhakti rules will not be very fruitful. So if you become slack in following any of them, his progress will certainly be checked. So that is what the Acharya says, and we have to, therefore it is very carefully, we have to follow the rules and regulations of the Vaidhi Bhakti. But then he also writes in the same purport, which was very encouraging to me. Devotional service is so pure and perfect that once having begun, one is forcibly dragged to the ultimate success. Isn't it wonderful? So having begun, we are assured of success. Srila Prabhupada says so. So that was very encouraging. After reading the purport, I thought then this has to be done. At least you start doing it, ultimately the success is yours. Then there are other examples of those who could strike a balance, because we are all so busy in today's world. So you have to do not only devotion, but you have to take care of your health and your family members, and you have to do career will be there. Maybe you're a student, maybe you are a working person. So you have to strike a balance between all that. Is it possible? This sitting and chanting for 2 hours and all, is it possible in today's scenario? You may ask. Then in Kali Yuga, just a few hundred, say few hundred years back, Bhaktivinoda Thakura was born in Bengal, and he was a magistrate, very respectable profession, was very efficient also. And he could do work of such volume in such a short time, because he was so concentrated. His concentration was so good. What other judges will take 1 month to do, he will do in 1 week only. He will dispose so many other cases, because with so much attention he will listen to. Because the attention, when you do the chanting, if you are attentively listening to each and every syllable of the Maha Mantra, each and every mantra, if you are listening attentively, then your attentiveness naturally increases. So become a good chanter. That is what the Acharya says. That is 99% of the progress depends upon how you chant. So if you are chanting with great detail, then it is very easy to progress in the spiritual life. All other things will fall into place once you start chanting attentively. And so we have to take inspiration from Bhaktivinoda Thakura, who wrote 100 books, who had 10 children, and he brought them up nicely. He did an occupation where he, of a very responsible person in the society he was very much respected by the Britishers. So it is possible for us to balance everything and do devotional service also. So we need not get depressed by the tat karma pravartanat. People have done it before us. We can also do it. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Tomorrow we'll see yet another part of this verse.